eyes today and make Jesus smile as you, with a gun, pack foreigners into the back of a van to be kicked out of the country. That is a godly, glorious endeavor.
And I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send? And who will go for us?" I said, "Here am I. Send me."
What about the suffering that results from this Christian violence, though? It may not be ideal, but what's the alternative in this view? Letting the actual root of all suffering persist? Wouldn't that result in more suffering in the long run? And what if a refusal to submit to the Christian God exists on the level of a whole civilization? That would create untold horrors, and eliminating that end justifies the means of Christian domination.
Colonization, historically, has been a force for good throughout the world. It was the process of introducing the rule of law, public health, human dignity to certainly this entire hemisphere that we're currently living on. Conquering them was the right decision for all of humanity. And it's just beyond dispute that we are all living much better lives now because of it.
As you can see, valuing an authoritative moral order in this way can allow people like Matt Walsh to say it was a good thing that hundreds of millions of people were exterminated in the largest genocide the world has ever seen. And it allows his audience to say, no, he's not saying genocide is good. He's just saying that it is always better to live in a society where Christian law and order exists. But in effect, defending this kind of Christian authority and advocating for genocide are the same thing. Christian exploitation of suffering. Now, if you're not in a position to make persuasive arguments for submitting to God, or to directly commit violence against those who won't submit, there is a third way to encourage submission to the ultimate authority. Use the suffering of others as a means to motivate their submission. God himself, after all, brings about ultimate good through suffering, so attempting to do this oneself is literally godly. You guys know I worked in an evangelical Christian women and children's shelter before my YouTube days. The shelter provided people's basic needs, but in order to be given food, clothing, a bed, etc., those who entered the shelter had to attend Christian programming daily. If a person didn't submit to the Christian moral order, they were kicked out, even if they had no place to go. This is no exaggeration. When I was working there in 2016, there was a woman who had been at the shelter for a while. She was undergoing job training and was doing pretty well at it. She helped out a lot around the shelter and treated everyone around her well. All of us, staff and client/resident, considered her a friend. At some point, a staff member found out she had a consensual, erotic conversation with a man using her own personal cell phone. She was told to repent, and when she said she hadn't done anything wrong, she was immediately kicked out and put back on the street. The Christian shelter used this woman's suffering and need as a means to gain influence over her, and when it became clear that she would not submit fully, the staff forced her to return to her suffering and need. In this way, Christians, even Christian charities, can treat suffering as an opportunity to be exploited, not as a problem to be solved.
All right, I pause it once again to throw more light. Christians cannot be exploiting the ones that are in sick, in pains, or in need, exploiting them, seeing their condition as a means of exploitation than to solve. Remember, one of the mission that Christ came, he said he came for the poor. You know that. Number two, he says that the kingdom of heaven is like it's like a man. It's like a big man that is. The Bible says it's easy for a needle to pass through the animal name instead of a big man to pass into it, which is why. Now, also remember number 3 point that I'm using to argue on this aspect. On this point is that because this say it's for exploitation and not for solving. No, remember, Christ in his earthly mission. I did give you instances with Christ as a body. Christ in his earthly ministrations. There come a time in his earthly ministration that he was ministering, and he found out that the multitude are many and they could not be able to go out. He said to Peter, ask them to go and get something. He said they cannot be able to go, for the time has gone. And Christ now asked them, what do you have? He said, loaf of bread and these fishes. And he blessed it and give them and fed them. That is, he fed them on the platform that they were able to listen to him. They were able to submit. When you are able to submit, your sickness, your problem will not be seen as an exploitation again, but to solved. Mind you, when I have solved your problem, when your problem have been solved, you are like one in paradise, in earthly paradise. It will be rare even to know Christ, I must tell you, because Christ himself chastised his own. He will chastise you. Chastisement is one of the